Hey everyone, welcome back to Strip by Sia, your podcast for strippers, sex workers, and all the fancy naked people in between. I am your host, Sia, my real name is Steph, but everyone seems to call me Sia. I could go, either or, I'm okay with it. I used to be formerly known as Kim Chi on stage, not to be confused with the most amazing drag queen ever, but that was my stage name before, but of course, due to the pandemic, no longer dancing. I am also a digital content creator, YouTube person, and all-around person that just doesn't know what the hell to do, so I'm doing a lot of things. But that's me in a little nutshell. Enough about me, though, because this is not the reason for today's episode. Today's episode, I am bringing on an erotic masseuse who goes by the name of Lexie Caldera. Lexie, can you say hello?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm so honored to be here.
I am so excited to have you on. I was on the hunt for an exotic masseuse to interview for a long time, but then it took the back burner, and then I just reached out to my Twitter following, and one of my followers was like, hey, you should try messaging Lexie. She's great. I think she would have a lot to say, and I DM'd you, and now you are here, my dear.
I'm here. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to get into all this because it's a world that I relatively do not know much about. And again, if I am thinking the same thing, then perhaps a lot of my listeners are also kind of in the dark about this part of the sex industry. So I would love to kind of get to know you, but I know I don't know a lot about you. I've tried to stalk you. There's not a lot available online. So if you can do the honors and define who you are, what you do on your own words, in your own terms?
Yeah, sure. I know a lot about me. So,
Perfect.
What I do is realistically, in the grand scheme of things, a lot like full service work. We're going to get into this later, but
yes.
essentially I travel around and I give massages that have a happy ending. So regular massage for the, first half of the massage. A lot of the times I go to towns that have like a lot of working guys. Mm-hmm. So I give a good massage. They usually have really sore muscles from working 12-hour days or whatever. So I'll give them a good massage, and then it starts to get sexy partway through.
Okay.
And a lot of guys really like that, like, professional start where you just give the massage and it starts out like, just like nothing's going to happen. And I guess there's sort of that fantasy there too.
Totally. And it's relaxing too.
Yeah. And it relaxes you and helps them let their guard down and not just think about, oh my God, like I need to get hard, like I need to perform.
Right. No pressure there.
I think probably lots of escorts start like that too. And then I start to like press my body while they're on their stomach. I'll just like lay on them almost, or like lightly rub against them, or rub my fingers along the inside of their thigh, just a little too close. You know what I mean?
A little tease.
Yeah, a little tease, and then flip them over and sort of pull back away again and do a massage on their front. Mm-hmm. And just get to talking to them, because a lot of times when you're getting a massage on your back and you're not having to face someone, it's easier to have a conversation, to relax.
Definitely.
But when you have to look someone in the eyes, sometimes it's harder to keep that conversation going. And then it hits you again, like, oh my God, I'm in this situation. Now it's going to happen, Right. So I like to take it back again, and then start that whole process all over again.
Right.
And then I do a body slide.
Okay.
Which a lot of people ask me, what is a body slide?
Yes, please break it down for the audience.
Yeah, it's probably like the most asked question I get, besides do I have sex with my clients, which I don't. I do a hand release. Mm-hmm. That being said, I have had sex with clients in the past, so like,
okay,
again, we'll get into it later. Yeah, so the body slide is, I explain it to people sort of like, imagine it's have you ever been, I ask people like, have you ever been to a strip club? Have you ever gotten a lap dance? And most people say yes, or, you know, they've seen a lap dance, whatever. They know what a lap dance is.
Right.
It's a lap dance, laying down in a bed, and I just rub my body all over you and tease you and I let my clients touch me. Just, I don't let them put their fingers inside me.
Right.
But yeah, like, I love being touched. And honestly, the biggest thing, I love being teased. Or no, I don't love being teased. I hate being teased, actually.
You like being the teaser?
I like being the teaser, yeah.
Yeah.
It is probably my favorite thing in the whole wide world, so.
It's fun. It's almost like a little bit torturous for the client. Yeah. But it makes them want it more.
I think my clients like it for the most part. But, yeah, so that's what a body slide is.
Oh my gosh, can I say... When I like hear body slide, and you're gonna laugh at me, and everyone's gonna laugh at me, but the first thing that comes to mind was like a slip and slide.
Oh my gosh, I make plays on it. I actually, in a hotel in the town that I live in, they have like a kid's slide, and you know, the slides that they have in the pools in the hotels.
Pool. Yeah.
Yeah, and it has a sign like how to sit for a body slide. So I've taken a picture of it. It's on my work Facebook.
That's awesome. Sorry to interrupt. Continue. I feel like I had to share that.
Yeah, so I mean, I offer this service. I do like deviate from that. I also offer like social time. I love doing social time, actually. I've gotten to the point, I also love fishing, and I tour around usually rural places.
Okay.
So cool. I get to go on a lot of fishing dates with my clients, and I get paid for it.
That's awesome.
It is probably my favorite part of my job.
I love it.
Yeah. So,
that's incredible.
But then social times for other things too, like just going for dinner, being like a fake date to a family dinner. I've done that a couple of times. It's pretty crazy. It's a lot of fun though. And like, I understand where someone's coming from, because I come from that family that's like, so when are you going to get a boyfriend? So yeah, I've gotten hired before to help someone go grocery shopping just because they have or had a hard time leaving the house. And just holding their hand through it.
Wow.
Yeah, so things like that. Like, I deviate from massage, but I started in like at an adult spa, so that's what I learned, and that's what I do.
For sure. Like, how did you get involved? How did you fall into it?
Yeah, so I grew up in Southern Ontario.
Okay.
And I was seeing a guy in the States, and we wanted to be together. We were, at 18, had big plans to get married and whatever.
Oh my gosh, didn't we all?
I know. I'm embarrassed to admit that part of my past, but it happened. And so to do that, you need to have a lot of money. He worked at a pizza shop. At the time, I think I was doing, working at a call center or something.
Okay.
So we didn't have money. So, and I had a little bit of credit card debt. So I'm like, okay, well, what's a realistic way for me to pay off all of my credit card debt and to put some money in savings, and build to make this dream of marrying this kid a reality.
Right.
And I thought about it for a long time. And one day I was on the bus and I went by this spa, and I knew what it was because my sister and my uncle worked like literally right around the corner and right across from.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh
So I knew what it was because like I picked my sister up with my parents a bunch of times from where she worked, and my uncle, we'd visited him lots there because Like, it was right around the corner from my high school too. Not right around the corner, but a few blocks from my high school. And
Okay, like within the vicinity.
yeah. So, like, we'd driven by it, and my mom had pointed it out to me and been like, hey, listen, like, don't ever go there.
Oh my
It's
God.
not like an actual massage parlor. They do bad things there.
Oh my
So
gosh. So
I
of
had
course
known what
that.
it was. Yeah. And so I'm on the bus and I see it and I'm like, oh my God, I'm of age now. Like, I could do this. And by this time I'm 19. So
Okay.
I get home, I message them, and they email me back. And they're like, yeah, like, we are hiring, and they asked you to send like an actual resume.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're like, yes, we're hiring. Come on in for an interview.
Okay.
So I go for this interview, and they kind of go into, like, this is what we do. Like, yes, we're adults. When I go in there, they had, like, security and everything. But it was a super nice building. Like, really nice building.
Okay.
Everything was super clean. And actually, I had gone to another place just to check it out, and they had carpet everywhere, and I was just like,
Ew.
this does not seem, super gross.
Yeah, nasty.
So I left there and then went for this other interview. And
Okay.
yeah, they were great, and they just were very open about everything, and they sounded like they really supported you, and they insisted that you get a health test done. And
good.
yeah, they just explained, like, this is what we expect of you in an appointment, which was a massage, naked. They had rules to keep things
safe
for you. Yeah, safe for you, safe for the clients. It seemed really professional. So
Awesome.
I decided, I was going to try it out. So they had me back for a second interview, which was an appointment with one of their, like, trusted workers.
Okay.
And one of her regular clients.
Oh, okay.
So it was they call that a duo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we have this half-hour appointment with the client, and honestly, it wasn't that hard for me to, like, take off my clothes in front of him.
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of grew up in a family where a body's a body, and I also felt like this guy's paying me to see my body, and I've done it before with guys, like, for nothing.
Yeah.
And like I do it with my friends to go skinny dipping. Like, it just wasn't an issue for me.
Cool.
I was a little bit nervous, of course, of meeting this new person, whatever, but it wasn't, like, overwhelming nerves.
Yeah.
And the appointment went great, and she kind of showed me what she did, and then I just copied her, and it was great. And then, after this half-hour appointment that actually really only lasted 20 minutes because he spent time showering.
Yeah.
I walked out with $70, and I just thought, like, $70, like, I barely did anything.
Yeah.
And, like, it was, no, so I was sold.
And sold.
Yeah. And then, so essentially, a client walks through the door, you line up, you introduce yourself to the client. There's a few other girls there, always. It's never just one or two girls. There's always at least 3 or 4 just to keep things safe.
Yeah.
No one's in a room together at once. There's always one person out of a room in case something happens.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really good.
That's awesome.
And the client chooses who they'd like to see. You bring them into a room. You give them time. You bring them towels. You give them time to shower. Turn on the shower for them. Bring them, once they're done showering, to the bed, and then give them a massage. And all that was expected of you. Mm-hmm. So you get a door fee. They pay a door fee to come in.
Interesting.
Yeah, so for an hour it was like $75 or something like that.
Okay.
Or $80, and then that gets split between you and the house.
Okay.
You get a bigger percentage. Like, I think the ladies got 60%, the house got 40%.
Oh,
or
wow.
Maybe it was like 45 and 55 or something like that.
Okay.
And once you're in the room, you can essentially, how work told us is, you give them a massage. That's what they're paying for.
Right.
It's behind closed doors. If you're not being, like, And work didn't really tell me that, I guess. It was almost like the other girls told me that.
Oh.
And, like, work told me, like, you get in there, you get naked, you give them a massage. That's what's expected of you.
Right.
And the girls, it was like, yeah, like, if you're in the room and you're quiet, you can do whatever you want. That being said, and it's interesting, I remember you touched on this in the street workers episode.
Uh-huh.
If there was ever a girl that was doing bear, it was like, no, you did not have a good time at work, because you had to sit there at work with a bunch of other girls.
Yeah.
And if it was found out that you were doing bear, yeah, it was just not. And, like, if work caught wind of it, you were immediately fired.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, but it was good because there was actually lots of other girls that worked there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it wasn't just, like, lots of other, like, girls like me, skinny white girls. Like, there was all kinds of girls.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Actually, we're going to be touching on this later for sure, but one of the highest earning girls there was, like, 70 years old.
What?
Yes.
That's incredible.
She was booked solid every single day. She was the only provider there out of dozens of girls that they actually booked in advance. Usually they would only book once the girl was there at her shift.
Yeah. But for this one.
For her, yeah, like, she'd been there so long, and honestly, you'd always know when it was her client, because he'd come in and, like, a little, like, with his little, what do you call those? Like a cane. like a lot of older guys would see her because they just didn't feel comfortable with, like, a 20-year-old or even a 30-year-old girl. Like, they wanted someone their own age.
Yeah, understandably so.
Yeah, I always respected her clients because you knew they were just, like, the sweetest old men.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get into that.
So anyone who says that you can't do this forever, like, they're so fucking wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
You can do this forever if you want to.
Wow, okay, this is really, really cool. I really do appreciate the really thorough breakdown that you're giving us. Like, it's very, very insightful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I could talk about it forever. I loved working there. The only thing was they were not inclusive with, like, they were inclusive with race. They were not inclusive with, like, trans. Like, they would never hire a man or a trans person. Yeah, it was kind of sad.
Oh, that's so disappointing.
But they were, like, for everyone else, I don't know if that, I feel awful even saying that.
Oh, my gosh.
For everyone else, they were great and supportive. And, like, if I ever had an issue, even if it was off the clock, I could call them and they would be there.
Did you ever have any issues working?
Working, like, not really. The only one time I had an issue, and it was actually, like, my first week.
Okay.
So it was open late.
Right.
And it was downtown, so you know, guys from the bar would come in super drunk.
Yeah.
And I get this one guy, and I bring him into the room, leave him for 5 minutes to shower, turn the shower on for him.
Yeah.
I walk back in on him, and he is peeing in the garbage can in the room.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And I just stand in the doorway with the doorway open, like, what the fuck? And I said, what the fuck? And one of the other girls heard me, and she comes storming over, and she looks at him, and she's like, oh, hell no. And she closes the door, and the door's locked from the outside, like, safety.
Okay. Yeah.
And she calls the boss, and the boss is there in 5 minutes, and they take him into the office, and 5 minutes later, he comes out, he pays me $200, and he leaves. So, like,
it's a good problem.
It was fine. Yeah, it wasn't a problem. Like, people knew,
that's good.
You know, that they took care of their girls. They're not going to put up with shit.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
It wasn't, I had heard of it happening, but I wasn't there for that long. But I'd heard of, like, when I wasn't there, you know, some guy had come in and, like, punched this girl in the face. But
oh my God.
It always got taken care of. Like, work always took care of it. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that they have your back.
Yeah, it felt great to be supported.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. This is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you want to talk about your work over on this side of the country too, because you weren't there for very long. You were there for, I think you said 4 months, or?
I actually, like, maybe closer to 6 months.
Okay.
And then when I first got there, like, it was busy. Mm-hmm. And there was lots of girls, but it just wasn't enough. And so I started working, like, crazy hours. And really, they shouldn't have let me do it. But I remember the last week I worked there, I worked, like, 110 hours or something stupid like that.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah, it was wild. Well, they had beds there. It was actually, so they had like a bunch of rooms with beds, and then they had like a pool studio and like jacuzzi rooms and shower rooms and all that sort of stuff. So I would just sleep in the bed just to cover like the overnight shifts and make sure that like, so like if someone did come in, then I would get woken up and I would just keep an eye out while they took care of the room. Like I wasn't taking as many appointments, and I shouldn't have been working that much, but I was doing it just because I sort of threw myself into the life. I loved the money. I loved the confidence it had given me. I loved the freedom because of the money it had given me.
For sure.
And I was starting to lose touch with my family because I was having a hard time lying to them. I suck at lying.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how did you hide this so long, especially these long hours? It's open super late. How did you kind of dodge around that topic about, like, what do you do for work? What are you doing? Why are you coming home so late?
Well, I didn't live with my family, actually. So my mom had a stroke when I was young, and I moved out pretty early.
Okay.
Yeah. So that wasn't an issue. Like, I could come and go as I pleased because I had my own apartment.
Okay. So you had that independence. But what about, like, the money and like, did they ever ask you?
So I just told them that I had 3 jobs. Which it felt like I did because I was working so many hours.
Yeah.
So I told them I had 3 jobs. And I don't know if they bought it or not. Like, I really don't know. I'm kind of just dealing with them right now about sex work. I've come out to them since.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
We're having like counseling sessions together.
Holy crap.
Because they were really anti for a long time.
For sure.
So,
oh my gosh.
We're dealing with that. Yeah.
Did you want to talk about that, or we could skip?
Yeah, I could talk about it like a little bit. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I kind of went through a phase where I just was like, you know, I pick and choose my friends, whether they support me in sex work or not. So why can't I do that with my family too? So I just decided, like, they haven't been providing me emotional support since I was a teenager. Okay. And even then, like, they didn't really give me that much realistically. So at least not for the path that I wanted to you know, have for myself.
Yeah.
So I just felt like, you know what, they're not paying my bills. They cannot tell me what to do.
Yeah,
I'm an adult now. So, like, I told some of my family one by one, kind of randomly.
Yeah.
Whoever I thought might take it the best.
Okay.
And they took it about how I thought they would, like, not the greatest, but also because my siblings are a lot older than me, and my parents are, like, I'm almost 30, and my parents are the ages of most of my friends my age's grandparents.
Oh,
like,
wow.
My dad's almost 90 years old.
Oh, whoa. Okay, whoa.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I'm like,
plus, I'm a first generation Canadian. Like, both my parents are from Europe. So just totally, they're just totally
it's a different world.
They grew up in a totally different world.
Yeah. And very, like,
rooted
in tradition.
But that being said, I also feel like sex work has been around forever.
Yes.
So, like, that's not a very good excuse.
No.
You know?
No, it's not. Ugh,
so essentially, I don't have a relationship with my dad, which is unfortunate. I've left the door open to him. You know, one of my siblings knows how to get a hold of me, so just ask them and give me a call. Right. I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. My mom has taken it quite well, surprisingly well.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
What was her reaction like?
She's older and she's had a stroke. So her initial reaction was very good, but I think she was in shock.
No.
And then she kind of like flip-flopped, and she sort of said some things that were really hard to hear from your mom.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So we are now doing co-counseling, and it's going fairly well.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, she's apologized, and she said, you're my daughter and I love you no matter what, and that sort of thing. So
that's good.
It's been a wild ride, but we're getting somewhere.
Yes. Sorry for the side tangent there.
No, that's okay. Siblings I'm still working on.
Mm-hmm.
My fiance's family knows what I do.
Okay. How's that reaction?
They took it very well.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I mean, they're a lot younger. They're not like as old as my parents, so.
Bit more open-minded then. Less judgmental.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, sorry for that sidebar.
No worries.
I'm just really genuinely curious, like, how other people's families deal and friends and how they deal with that. Especially it's coming out, because it's so hard when you come out. And unless you're in a really, supportive family who understand this line of work, like, I feel, generally speaking, it can be a difficult conversation to have.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, I wish I'd done it a lot sooner, because I have one sister that is an actuary and works at a bank.
Okay.
Like, two separate sisters. I have one sister that works at a bank and another sister that's an actuary.
Oh, wow.
I have a brother that has majored in computer science. So, like, I'm not technologically inclined, but my brother is, and he could have helped me with so much of getting started.
Yeah.
And then managing money.
Yeah.
I have another sister who's a marketing genius.
Oh my God, so they totally could have helped you out.
Yeah, so much of my family have like gone to university and have these degrees and things that I absolutely could have used help in. So
damn it.
Yeah, it was a poor move on my part, but I was scared to be disowned, and it took me a long time to realize these people haven't been supporting me since even when I was a teenager. They weren't supporting me very good. So
hey,
yeah,
that's a real fear, those feelings are completely valid. So
yeah,
I mean, those are real situations, and sometimes some situations are more dire than others. Like, I don't know if you listened to Debbie Mundane's episode where, like, she was like kind of almost disowned.
Yeah.
From her friends and family. So
yeah. I mean, I wonder, like, if I had come out before my grandparents had passed away, how they would have taken it. I wonder, like, I've lost so many friends because of it. Yeah, I feel bad for people who rely on their family or who have a great relationship with their family otherwise.
Yeah. It's just disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah, super sad. I mean, it literally has been around forever. And, I mean, what is marriage, I feel like, if not a contract of sex work in a way?
Totally.
Or
yeah.
at least, like, I mean, sex work is so much emotional labor, and so is a relationship, I feel like.
Yeah.
So,
it's hard work.
Like, sex work is not just sex.
No.
So that's why I say that I feel like marriage is sort of like a sex work relationship in a way.
I agree with that sentiment. Well, not only is sex work really emotionally tolling, but especially in your specific line of work with massage, it's also really physical as well.
It's so physical.
I don't
my
know,
gosh.
like,
And you know, the one thing that the one thing that I think is really, am I echoing?
No, you are fine.
Okay, I hear myself, so I just wanted to make sure. The one thing that I find that people don't really think about is, so I do a bunch of positions when I do this massage. Like, it's at least for the finale, the happy ending.
Yeah.
I don't just like stand beside the bed and do like a shake weight motion with my hand. Like I do a good massage, and actually, so when I worked at the spa, I learned a lot of really interesting tricks of the trade.
Okay, like different
There's
techniques.
Like the basic ones, like the sea sponge when you're on your period.
Okay, wait, what? Sea sponge?
For having sex when you're on your period. You know those like natural sponges, like makeup sponges?
Yeah.
You can use those just before you have sex with someone, and it imitates the feel of a cervix.
Oh
so
my God.
The guys don't know that it's there, and it absorbs the blood, and you can have sex with that.
Did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Tip taken.
Okay. Yeah, so that's like little tricks of the trade like that. I learned so much of that working with all these other women.
Yeah.
And one of them was because you would get a lot of drunk guys coming in on, especially obviously Friday and Saturday nights.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of these guys would like, you know, be wasted and insist that they were going to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd say at least half the girls offered full service.
Yeah.
So what they would do instead, because, you know, you can't, if a guy's been doing coke and drinking all night, he can't get hard, or most of them can't.
Yeah.
So you can't get a condom on, which is unsafe.
Yep.
So what they would do is just sit on them, reverse cowgirl, and use their hands and like ride up and down, but like pretend that they were doing full service and just take the money. Because like they don't know, they walk away acting happy that they got laid, but they're wasted. Like they've got a little gummy worm. Like there's nothing that can physically happen.
No. That's awesome. Oh my god.
So
I love that.
Anyways, that is like my favorite finisher. I love doing it. It's a great workout. It imitates having sex.
Yep.
And so many guys will leave and will message me later and be like, it felt like I was inside you. So
cool.
So one of my muscles that gets worked out the most, I think, is my ass, because as I'm like kneeling in reverse cowgirl, and a lot of times they'll put their hands on my hips.
Yep.
And they don't realize that they do it, but they push me forward for some reason.
Okay.
And I have fallen flat on my face a few times. I will admit that. Not because of me, just because they push so hard. Like, I don't think they realize they're doing it. So anyways, it's a really good ass workout just because I'm having to clench my ass to keep myself from, and my core, I guess.
That resistance.
Keep myself from falling over. Yeah, it's great. It's a great workout. I can tell when I've been doing a lot of appointments because my ass looks fantastic.
I love it. It's a 2-in-1. Can you speak a little bit about, because you also mentioned in the beginning of the show too that you've done some full service work as well. Did you want to go into that?
Yeah,
briefly?
sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's one thing that really bothers me about, it's besides guys messaging me like, hey babe,
oh god,
my biggest pet peeve is when I tell people that I do massage, and they'll be like, oh, well, you don't have sex with your clients? As if like it's a, like, oh, it's okay then, you know?
Oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah. It's like, it feels like they're trying to distance me from sex work when the reality is I touch my clients' dicks. Like, I make them come. And actually, I do offer like one extra, which is I let guys come on my face. So like, I don't feel like I'm different than a sex work. Like, I am, because I'm not sleeping with them, but at the same time, I'm still having hand sex with them.
No, totally. And it's annoying that there's this like hierarchy in sex.
There's still an orgasm there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I feel like that's the first thing people jump to when they hear what I do. Like, they try to be like, oh, well, that's okay. It's not like you're a sex worker.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Eye roll.
And it also is frustrating because, like, well, actually, like, I have slept with clients in the past. Like, I've slept with people for money before. So, that sucks. So, yeah, I have done it before. I did do sex work when I was a teenager. I had, like, when I was 16, 17, I had, like, a really bad assault.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it affected me really badly. Like, I was traumatized for several years, really. I still have flashbacks, like, it was not good.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. After that, I struggled for a few years. I had a hard time, like, keeping a job.
Okay.
I think I, like, sold some magazines online in a call center, and like just bounced around a lot. I think I went on like welfare for a while because I just was really struggling with PTSD. And then, so I was like, well, I can't pay my bills. So I started doing work on Craigslist before I knew that sex work was like even like a thing.
Okay.
But way before I should have been doing it, way before I knew about safety.
Yeah.
And
You said
I
you were
did like
16?
a lot for very little.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was, but at the same time, it felt like, you know, I'm getting $100, $200 for this thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Where I have been in this even worse situation and I got absolutely zero from it.
Right.
So at the time, I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
And it only happened a few times and whatever. And then I started at the spa a few years later.
Right.
Which was great because it opened my eyes to, holy shit, I've been really underselling myself.
You're like, oh crap.
Yeah. And then, but that was the start, I think, of like me feeling like I have been in this horrible situation that I still have flashbacks to, that I didn't get paid for that. And I am now in a situation where I can decide how much I deserve to make from my time with this person.
Absolutely. That can be really empowering too, once you have that power. I don't know if power is the right word, but that control maybe.
Yeah, you have that control. Like, it took me a long time to realize that I was totally in control of what happened in that appointment. Like, I had heard those words before. I had heard, like, you're in control of the situation, whatever.
Right.
And I guess in the back of my mind, I knew what it meant. But I had never really learned how to set boundaries, I think. I don't think that was something that was taught to me.
No, and like, honestly, like, how could you have even known at that young age what boundaries or what boundaries even are?
Yeah.
You know?
So that was something that sex work taught me for sure.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's quite the story. It's so
I feel like I
personal.
really went off track here.
No, that's okay. We can bring it back. So, I also wanted to talk to you about too, like, I mean, this has kind of helped shape who you are, what kind of sex worker are you, your work ethic, all that. How did you, because what it sounds like, the establishment is kind of in charge of your bookings, you have to report in, you're an employee. How did you branch off in terms of being your own brand, being your own business? How did you transition to that?
Yeah, so I was working a lot.
Yeah, you were working a lot.
Go back to this, working 110 hours on my last week.
Oh my God.
And one day I just woke up and I was like, I cannot keep living like this. Like, this is crazy. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to do something fun. And I had a little bit of money saved. And so I just woke up and it was 10 o'clock and I'm like, fuck, I'm late for my shift. And I called them and I was just like, I'm not going to be there for my shift. And I think I was working a double that day. And they were like, well, are you going to be here for like your next shift? And I was like, no, I'm not going to be in today. And I'm not going to be in tomorrow. And then I just got on a train and I got on a Greyhound.
Oh my gosh. And
I went to a town like 2 hours over. And then I was like I'm far enough away from populated Southern Ontario. I can just start hitchhiking now.
Oh my God.
And I had like a backpack, like a regular school backpack. And I had like a blanket that I had stolen out of the back of a U-Haul truck on my little walk.
Oh my gosh.
And I just started hitchhiking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was good. My first experience was good. I got like a ride from a truck driver who was definitely high on trucker speed, but he was a totally decent man. And then my next ride was good, and then my next ride was good. And then I got a ride that was not good.
Oh my God.
It wasn't like terrible. Like, I knew I had a feeling from the start, even before I got in his truck, like I shouldn't have gotten in his truck.
Okay.
But I was still fairly new to hitchhiking.
Uh-oh.
And then we were like at one of those pullouts in Alberta, and he was like, he pulls over at the pullout, and I knew that was weird immediately, because truck drivers, I had already figured out, like, do not like stopping. Like, they have places to be. They don't like stopping.
Yeah.
And he pulls out and he's like, so, are you going to take your shirt off? And I was like, no. And he's like, are you going to take your pants off? And I was like, fuck no. And I got it. He's like, I think you should get out of the truck. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Good idea. Yeah. Bye.
And I got out of the truck and I started walking, and then I got picked up by this like super Christian couple.
Oh my gosh.
I think they were like from South America, and they had like a bunch of rosaries hanging off of their.
Oh wow.
They were super nice. But after that, I was like, as soon as I got to Calgary, I visited my sister in Calgary.
Oh,
Definitely didn't tell her about my hitchhiking experience, but I visited with her for a couple days, and then I was like, hey, like, I cannot be hitchhiking. I don't like being at the mercy of other people.
Yeah.
Then I started train hopping, like hopping on freight trains.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I traveled around Canada like that, like hitchhiking and train hopping for a few years, and I would like pick up other jobs and like random little jobs. Like I was a live-in nanny for a little while.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is incredible.
I like got work like, I don't know, just to clean out people's garages or whatever.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I just like lived out in the bush, and then would travel somewhere else and find some new place to live for a couple weeks. And
that's so cool.
it was so much fun. It seriously helped me in so many ways. I'm so grateful for that time of my life.
What do you mean it helped you in so many ways? Can you kind of go into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I'd just been working for the spa for a while, and I'd made a bunch of money. Obviously, that relationship with the guy in the States did not work out. He found out about me working. I hadn't told him.
Oh, okay.
And then finally, one of my friends, he just happened to live next door to me, in the apartment next door, and he saw me getting delivered at home, because work would drive you home and make sure, like, watch you walk in the door, make sure you got home safe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were really good like that.
Yeah.
And so I walked home in like a skirt and high heels, and that's not me. Like, I'm super tomboy. Like, I'm out in the bush all the time.
Yeah.
So he was kind of like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, and he confronted me about it, and then he was like, yeah, you need to tell the guy that I was seeing in the States, because he was friends with him.
Oh,
and
fuck.
So that ended.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it, because realistically, like, I've lived an amazing life. So yeah, I traveled around for a while, and then I came to a town in northern BC called Terrace.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I actually had hopped a train there. And if anyone listening knows Terrace, it's just like nestled in the mountains.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of like bridges to like cross, because the Skeena River runs through town. So there's a bunch of bridges to cross, and the train bridge that I got off near was like, the sun was just coming up over the mountains. It was like 5:30 a.m. in the summertime, and it was just so beautiful.
Oh my God, that's lovely.
So I just decided I was going to stay there. And
Oh
I
my
stayed there
God.
for a little bit.
Okay.
And then, like, I got a job there and everything. I got a couple jobs, actually, while I lived there. And then I went back to Ontario for a little bit after I lived there for a few months, and got a job in Ontario. I think I might have worked for the spa again for a little bit. And then I got a car, and I drove out to BC, and I settled in Terrace again.
Okay.
And eventually there was a construction boom going on up there, because the aluminum smelter, like Alcan,
Okay.
was expanding, or actually rather they were tearing down the old building and
Building
a bigger one.
Yeah.
So there's a huge boom, and there's not enough people, and they need workers, and I have a bunch of construction experience, because I worked a lot of little construction gigs while I was traveling around.
Yeah.
So I get in on that job, and I realize, like, holy shit, there's like, I'm one of maybe 200 or 300 girls on this 3,600 person project.
Okay.
There's a ton of men here, and like, guys are doing like gay shit because they literally, they want someone to suck their dick.
Yeah.
Where they wouldn't normally, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I should start doing that massage thing that they do here. Like,
okay.
Yeah, so I did. And I started working under the same name that the spa had given me.
Okay.
And I just advertised on Craigslist because Craigslist was, I think they had like commercials back then.
Okay.
So yeah, I worked on Craigslist, and even with Craigslist back then, I had to like get through an algorithm though, because you'd get your posts deleted so quickly.
I know.
So I had to like, click into it a billion times just to make and not report it so that the algorithm would let it stay up.
Oh my gosh.
And then I would do dating sites too. Like I would advertise on dating sites just because I almost still hadn't realized that there was a sex work community. Like even though I'd been in the industry at that point, and even when I was hitchhiking, I had this big backpack, and at the bottom of my backpack, I carried around a pair of heels and a couple of pieces of lingerie so that if I ever needed to, I could stop in at a strip club.
Yeah, and you could work.
Freelance. Yeah, or
money.
Get a hotel for the night and work out of the hotel for the night.
Right.
But it wasn't like I didn't have a brand at that time. Like I was just working under one single name. I think at the time it was Sylvie.
Okay.
I was just Sylvie, and I didn't have ads really. I just, posted something on Craigslist being like, I'm in town and come visit me. And in the visit, I would put a $sign and, that's it. And I get a bunch of replies, like tons and tons. At the time, Craigslist was the biggest thing.
Back in the day.
And then, I know. So I would just post, like I would type up a little thing like, if you want to contact me, like, this is what I offer. This is how much. This is my phone number. And then I would mass send that out to everyone. And I'd get a few calls and make money that way. And then if it wasn't very busy that day for whatever reason, I would either go hang out in a strip club, even not necessarily working, just hang out in one.
And get clients that way?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it.
And some strip clubs are cool with it, some are not.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they're like, no, you need to leave, or, you need to pay a freelance fee, whatever.
Yeah.
But some places don't like freelancers. Like some places don't do freelancers. And
interesting.
Yeah, like what are you going to do? So at the time, I didn't really care. I didn't realize that I could build a brand and build a company and work like that. So I did that for a while, and then slowly, after being an adult for a while, and because I grew up in a really old school family, I didn't really use technology very much.
Right.
I started to get introduced to places like Reddit, and at the time, Tumblr.
Oh my God, Tumblr.
And I realized there was a sex work community, and there's people that do this like full time as a job.
Yes.
And I mean, like, stupid. I should have figured it out way sooner. I don't know how I could have been in the industry and doing sex work for like, off and on 5 years before realizing, wow, like I can actually make this a whole gig. Like, totally. I don't have to change names every now and then. Like, it's actually better to keep the same name and build clientele. Yeah. So it took me a while, and I kind of feel stupid about it, but eventually I got there, and I have Terrace to thank for it. And I keep going back there because I lived there for several years and built up a good clientele there. And for sure, I love it. It's just beautiful.
Okay, that's
highly recommend
awesome.
Visiting Northern BC.
Yes.
I should plug that.
Once the travel restrictions are lifted again in BC, I definitely want to drive up there. I have a couple questions too, in terms of like, you were starting out and you were working on Craigslist. Maybe you're renting out some hotel rooms and stuff too. How did you guarantee your own safety in those first kind of like foundational months and years?
Because I didn't have that sex work community, and I was really hushed in my personal life at that time about what I was doing. Like, I did not talk about sex work except with like one or two of my best trusted friends. And even then, like, I didn't really tell them everything that I was doing.
Okay. Is that because
I was,
of like the shame and the stigma
yeah,
that comes? Okay.
totally. Yeah, and
Gotcha.
stigma. And just, I grew up in just a different, I guess I grew up kind of in a different time because my parents are so much older.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that I could live a happy life as
This
a
way.
sex worker, I
Yeah.
guess.
Right. Because of, I mean, like the way that they've instilled their own values and traditions and everything.
Yeah, like I thought that I was going to have to hide all the time,
Mm.
which as I've been doing it for longer and longer, and as I've been paying my bills and living quite a good life, like really, I've lived a great life. I've gone and done all kinds of super cool things
Yeah.
funded by sex work.
Yeah.
So I start to realize like it does make me super happy actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like because of sex work, I can do this.
Yeah.
And you know, when I worked in Terrace, or sorry, rather Kitimat. I lived in Terrace, but I worked in Kitimat at the remodernization project for Alcan.
Okay.
I was not happy there. I was getting paid very well.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was making 6 to 8 grand a month.
Oh, wow.
And I was not happy. I was so unhappy. Like I went home exhausted at the end of the day, but I also didn't feel like I had done anything
Okay.
good. And like I actually, while I worked there, had read this book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and
Okay.
it made me hate my job even more just because I'm working for this giant company
Corporation.
that I
Yeah.
hate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
and
okay.
not only that, but there was so much bureaucracy, like, and just like red tape. Like, for example, I really wanted to get on night shift while I worked there,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't know what I did. Like, I at the time was not posting pictures of myself. Like, I was just on Craigslist. Like, maybe I would do like a picture fully clothed, but not my face.
Yeah.
And like terrible photo quality because of the time.
Yeah.
So they didn't know what I did. Like they had no idea. And I wanted to get on night shift because there was a premium, a $6 premium.
Okay.
And they kept saying like, we need 3 people for night shift really badly.
Yeah.
And I would always say like, I want that night shift job. I love night shift. I love the premium. Like it would do me really well to have this night shift job.
For sure.
And they kept telling me no.
Oh my God.
And I kept pushing them for it. And finally, my foreman took me aside and he was like, listen, you're not getting that job. Stop bothering me. Like, there are too many dark corners, is what he said.
What?
Because I was a girl.
Oh.
Yeah.
God.
And so the frustrating thing was, it was union. I could have talked to my union rep about it.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I was a new employee. I was new to the union too.
Mm-hmm.
So if I brought up this, and the union's such an old boys club, like
Yeah.
it's all about who you know. It's all about how you put your head down and work.
Mm-hmm.
Don't raise alarms, like all that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
if I had gone to my union rep and caused a stink about it, I would have been blacklisted, and
Yeah.
I never would have gotten hired for another job.
Right. So you had to kind of play your cards right.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
man.
so I decided to leave there. I asked for a layoff, and I went hitchhiking some more and traveled around some more. And then I went up to the Yukon and worked a little bit.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a lot of, like, I had a car at the time, but I just wanted to hitchhike and travel a little bit more.
You're such a free spirit. I love this story so much.
It was so much fun. I would love to do it again.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so inspired. I'm too scared to do that kind of stuff.
It was like, the reality is people would always tell me like, oh, aren't you scared and everything? But the reality is like, I'm a white girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. Maybe something will happen to me, but at least maybe it would bring, like, I traveled a lot around BC, which I don't know if your listeners know about the Highway of Tears on it's Highway 97 and Highway 16.
Yes.
So I hitchhiked along that, and I didn't worry really, because I felt like I was living an amazing life, and I felt satisfied at the time, even if something did happen. I felt satisfied with my life.
Right.
And also I felt like there's so many people who have gone missing there, and
yeah, I was gonna say,
and how many of them are white girls?
well, I was gonna say
I don't think there's maybe there's one or two, but I think most of the women that have gone missing are indigenous women.
Yes.
Yeah. And like, maybe if I went missing, something would happen.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely a lot of privilege there for sure. Which
Yeah, super sad because so I drive there all the time. I still visit Terrace and tour to Terrace all the time.
Yeah.
And I pick up hitchhikers all the time.
Oh my God.
Always. Yeah, always. The only reason I will ever pass by a hitchhiker is if my car is too full and I physically cannot move anything.
Yeah.
Or I can't even think of another reason.
Sorry, I want to steer us back a little bit too. Although this conversation is super interesting.
Yeah.
I also wanted to like steer back to, I mean, going along with, okay, you've had this amazing life. Everything's going well. Why are you then deciding that you want to exit the industry?
So, like, I've always known that I didn't want to do it forever. Mm-hmm. I have really enjoyed taking ownership of it, making a brand for myself, and feeling like I've actually had a career. Mm-hmm. Because I've always felt sort of judged by my family for not having gone to school and not having gotten a degree,
right,
and not having had a career. But at the same time, the more I look at it, I've absolutely been in this industry long enough and been doing it consistently enough to consider it a career.
Definitely warranted it as a career for sure.
Yeah. So I love it and I appreciate it. But when it comes down to it, I do not want to, like, I know I'm going to deal with the stigma forever, considering I've done sex work. Mm-hmm. And maybe at some point in my life, it's going to come back and bite me in the ass one way or another. But I don't want to actively be dealing with the stigma forever.
Right.
It's too much.
Yeah.
I want to live a normal, happy life in the woods and be able to go to the grocery store and not worry about, like, I live in a super small town. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I just want to live I want to be able to live wherever I want to live and not have to worry about the whole town talking about me, because I definitely deal, maybe not the whole town, but, you know, certain groups or whatever.
Yeah, like, you just want to be able to live freely.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so yeah, I mean, like, you already had this in mind that this is always going to be a temporary type of work.
And I kind of figured, like, 30, I didn't have, like, 30 wasn't, like, set in stone. Mm-hmm. But probably around then. I also kind of thought maybe, like, when I get married around that time, whichever it happens to be.
Yeah. Then you would start to slow down.
I am turning 30 and I'm engaged, so it feels like the time is coming close.
Yes. Yeah, right. And I mean, who knows? I mean, this episode is airing in January. We're recording in December, so who knows if you might be completely exited.
I'm definitely not going to be getting married, like, within the next year. Mm-hmm. So, and, like, he knows what I do. I told him, we met online, and I told him before we even met what I do. It's not like, you know, I have to be done sex work before we get married and consummate the marriage. Nothing like that. Like,
no.
if it just so happens that we get married and then I'm still working for a few, like, it's not a big deal.
No, and it shouldn't be a big deal. So
yeah, exactly. That was my, you know, I had sorted through friends first that way, and then I started to sort through family that way. And then when I was dating and looking to settle down, I definitely sorted through my romantic relationships that way.
I like that process, actually. Mm-hmm. Going through friends, going through family, and then going through potential partners.
Yeah.
It's a good practice. I suppose.
And I needed the practice because I didn't know how to deal with it, for sure.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah, it's really hard. Sometimes I feel like partners sometimes just don't know how to process sex work.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
another topic.
Yeah.
I feel like I need
You're
to
going to have to get, like, someone's, like, a
Partner?
sex worker's partner on sometime. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would be really interested to hear from someone that isn't my partner. Like, I mean, we went through the process, obviously, but just to hear from someone else's experience.
Yeah, no, it's definitely on my radar, but I'm just very picky, choosy about who I bring onto the show, and I just want to make sure they can
Totally.
articulate well. But yes, the episode will be coming hopefully next year. So we'll see.
Awesome. I'm excited.
I also wanted to ask a couple questions too in terms of how to formulate an exit plan or exiting out of the industry. I mean, it's hard to plan for that kind of stuff too, but I mean, what are some tips and tricks that you can share?
Like, I think an exit plan, like if you're planning on not doing sex work forever, and even if you are kind of planning on doing it forever, I think it's still important to have an exit plan or a contingency, like a just in case.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, like I think, and I think sex workers are pretty good at that. Like I can't really think of any sex worker off the top of my head that doesn't have like another side job or like, you know, investments or whatever. But I think I guess that's just like good financial planning, which I think most sex workers have.
I think so.
Just because we're entrepreneurs, right? And one day we could be making $3,000 and one day we could be making $0. So
yes.
I think we just plan for that instinctively.
Totally. And also I think this conversation is good to have too, because there's so many new sex workers as well that aren't even aware. Like they think, oh my God, I'm swimming in money right now. And they just blow right through it. And I'm sure like we've all had kind of phases where that's happened too. But,
absolutely.
But no, it's good to kind of...
just growing up, right?
Yes.
Like, I think every single person can relate to that.
Absolutely. What kind of steps did you take in terms of kind of planning this out?
So, I mean, as far as steps, like, well, I will say, and I do remember hearing this in another episode too.
Okay.
Me and my fiance have a prenup. Mm-hmm. We have in the prenup that he knows that I do sex work and that I'm quitting sex work, and a lot, maybe not a lot of that, but in part due to partnership. Mm-hmm. And so it's also been, we've gone over that I expect to still live the good life that I lived when I was working.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I would consider that a step that I've taken.
Yeah, for sure.
I also feel like I have a really good background. Like I've worked all kinds of different vanilla jobs, like through so many different industries. Mm-hmm. I am not too worried. Like I don't have a plan for what kind of job I'm getting into next. Okay. I'm probably going to do a bunch of different vanilla jobs, just like I've always done, just because I like doing new things. I like learning new things.
Yeah.
I always love those oddball jobs, so I'm not really going to settle until I find something that is going to actually interest me.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good approach.
But that goes into another thing is I have the ability to take some time off, and I've prepared myself to have some time to distance myself from Lexie and get to know the real me, just because I've had Lexie for about 6 years now.
Yeah.
So, like, I am prepared for dealing with some grief, and probably already have started, considering I'm not really working with COVID.
Yeah, that's another thing.
I've started to experience a bit of grief, because when I give up Lexie, I will definitely be losing a part of my identity.
For sure. I mean, it's been part of your identity for so long, too.
And there was like definitely a part in the beginning where I never really detached from Lexie. Like, I was Lexie 24/7. Like, I went to bed with my work phone beside my bed,
Yeah.
And I woke up and checked it like newspaper. So I just all day, besides like, taking my dog for a walk, I didn't really detach from Lexie.
No. And I think that's really an interesting part of your process too, because it's almost like a part of you is dying.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you will need to take some time to mourn the passing of Lexie, whenever that is going to be.
Yeah, so it's something that I've touched on in therapy, just because I do therapy fairly regularly.
That's also great.
So I've
So
touched
important.
on it with her, and I have a sex work friendly therapist, and she's awesome. And she's kind of giving me some homework on that, on ways to detach, and also ways to keep make a new part of my identity, I guess, in its place.
Right. Right. Oh, wow. This is so cool.
Like, another thing is, it is one of those things, like I said earlier, you don't really need to, like, people who say that you can't do this forever, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
They've never done it.
As I've been doing this job, so the last like 4 years, I've been realizing that there's the sex work community and really starting to get involved. Like, I kind of watched from far away for like a year or two, and then I started to really dip my toe in and meet sex workers close to me and some far away from me. And yeah, like, there's so many more older people in the industry than you might think.
Totally.
So, I mean, at that point, it's like any other job where, you should be putting money into an RRSP or whatever you plan to do when you retire at 60 or 65 or whatever.
Or whatever age.
So,
yeah. Yeah, that's really important too, in terms of like, and not just in terms of sex work, but just in general, people should have some kind of financial planning knowledge. And I really wish that was taught in schools, and something that was taught to me earlier. That's
me too.
Something I've had to just like figure out myself.
Yeah, and it's really so hard to navigate when you don't even have like the foundation of saving or the foundation of financial planning. Yeah, I mean, it's the same for me. I feel like I really appreciate my parents. They did teach me a lot, but they never taught me anything to do with finances.
Yeah, but even like the things that your parents do teach you, like, it might be good for them, but it might not necessarily be good for me. Like, I can definitely see that from experience for sure. Like, I'm like super conservative, like the zero risk, and doesn't really make you any money. But I mean, that's like a whole nother conversation, maybe another episode that I'll have to do.
I mean, I guess like the biggest tip for if you know you're going to be exiting the industry, saving is so important. Having a cushion for a cushion for not only rainy days, but if you ever need to take some time off and just get to know yourself and figure out what you want to do in the future. And not only saving in one place, not only putting money in your attic account, or whatever, not only putting money in a savings account, like doing all those things, saving money all sorts of places, having investments in all sorts of places. Don't rely on one thing.
No, that's also sound advice as well. Especially,
and
like,
if you can, even maybe lean on a couple of really good clients. Like, I always had my business model as like, one of my best clients, my longest clients, who lives in Terrace. He is used to me asking for, like, a Christmas present. And it's not a thing. Like, he messaged me over COVID several times, just being like, are you okay? And he knows that I'm in a relationship. He knows that he knew before anyone that I was in this relationship. And he always checks up on me and always makes sure that I'm good.
I love
And
that.
so I always built my brand on building those kinds of relationships with people that I really like, and people who I know really like me.
Yeah, that's also really important too. Like, and I forgot, like, we didn't really get to go too much into branding, but if you want to quickly speak on that too, on what you should kind of like look out for, what you think sex workers should focus on. I mean, it can also really vary on the type of sex work that they do, but if you want to kind of share a little piece about your story, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, I don't feel like I'm a branding expert by any means. I'm not tech savvy, and I feel like a lot of branding now is all technological. So, I can't speak too much on it. I can definitely say my website has been so worth it. Like, starting a website was, yeah, the best move I could have made. And I know a lot of people kind of, you tell them the price point for a website and they're like, oh my God, that's too expensive. But when you think about it, you know, it's 2 or 3 appointments, which is, you know, two or 3 hours of your day, 4 hours of your day if you include all of the texting and whatever.
Yeah.
And it will save you so much time in the future. Like, I only see people who have read through my website, who've referenced that they've read through my website, and therefore like introduce themselves, tell me what city they're in, and that sort of thing. So it saves me, like, because for so long I was advertising and then I'd have like a write-up and I'd send it to every single person, and then I'd, you know, back and forth after that whenever they had questions. And now I don't have to do any of that.
Oh my gosh, it's so manual. There's so much manual work.
That's why it was so easy to be Lexie 24/7, because I was on my phone texting literally every second of the day. So making a website has given, I guess I made a website maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, it gave me my life back.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's like really, really key to have that, for sure.
Yeah.
And like with so many different platforms on building websites like Squarespace and stuff like that, you don't have to be design expert. You don't have to know code as well. I mean, if you have the income and the money to get someone to build your website for you and customize it, cool. But then, I mean, just having something out there where people can find you so you are accessible is so important.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I really, really, I know it's a high price point, but if you think about it, like, even $1,000, like, you can get a really nice website made for $1,000, and you can get it done for even cheaper than that.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, like $1,000 is middle ground, and it will immediately make you look more professional immediately.
Yes.
And it will justify a higher rate, and it will, and even just like, not only just looking professional will justify the higher rate, but just having something on the internet with your name on it, something that you're connected to, makes clients feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as clients, they
will note that I have had a website taken down. Yeah, you need to make sure that you're, like, you don't need to. You can make a Wix website for free, whatever. If that's what you have to do for a few months to get the money together, do that.
Yeah.
Maybe have a second one, a backup one, just in case that one gets taken down.
What happened with yours in terms of website taking down? Is it because you were advertising services, or like being, because I know sometimes websites are really picky about what the verbiage is.
Yeah, probably because I do state exactly what I do.
Okay.
And I do state on my website that I don't offer full service. Before I was in a relationship, I also would do full service, like, occasionally if the price was right and I felt like it, you know, it happened like a handful of times. But I do state on my website, like, I do not offer full service. I don't offer oral service. So it's very likely that it got taken down because of that. It did get taken down during FOSTA SESTA, like when Craigslist and all, Backpage. Oh God, I miss Backpage.
Oh my God, such a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing that, and like your incredible story. I just, wow, like my jaw is just like dropped open right now. I'm so inspired by you. I love your story. It's so raw and so real, and I'm like amazed. I'm pretty sure like a lot of people can learn from this episode. So, so glad to have
Good,
you
I
on.
hope so.
Yeah.
I really hope someone can learn something.
But
I learned so much from your episodes. So.
oh, thank you. I try. I really do. But there are a couple questions that did come in for you from the audience. So why don't we kind of roll into that?
Okay.
So I know that we kind of already briefly went through this, but I don't know if you want to go over it again or if you want to do Spark Notes version. But this person wrote in, how do erotic massages even work? I don't know if you want to go into that again, but...
I mean, I think it depends on whether you're seeing someone who's independent or whether you're going to a spa. If you're going to a spa, it's a little bit different than if you're doing it or if you're seeing someone who's independent.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak for other people. I have spoken about how I do mine.
Yeah.
We did kind of, before we went on air, touch about Nuru, which I don't do.
Right.
And I really hope you can have someone on it that can talk more about that because it's really hot.
Yes, thanks for that, Recco.
And then, like in a spa, I mean, your experience is going to vary.
Mm-hmm.
There's, especially if you don't pay any money, like if you only go in and pay the door fee, you're not going to get a very good time. Like you're going to have someone standing beside the bed and doing the shake weight, like I talked about. Like she's probably going to be looking at the clock the whole time. Like it's not going to be fun. If you have some money to spend, it'll be a great time.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, yeah. Like as long as you are communicate what you like want, that you want something sensual or you want something intimate or you want something, you know, you don't. Yeah, you have to communicate. I definitely find that with clients that will just like lay there and are totally unresponsive and like you don't know if they're having a good time. But for the most part, if you have a little bit of money and you show the girl that or the provider that you value their time, they're going to value you.
Yes,
so
it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Any clients listening? I guess here we kind of went over this too. Why did she decide to quit the sex industry?
I think if stigma was not a thing in our world, I might not quit.
Yeah.
I might get into it like more part-time
mm-hmm.
than I currently do.
Yeah.
But I would probably stick with it a lot longer. Stigma's the number one, just because I hate living in a small town and dealing with the drama that comes with that.
And the town gossip, so.
Yeah.
Fair enough. How do you put up with someone that has really poor hygiene?
Yeah, you know, this one, I used to put up with it, and I don't anymore. Yeah, I used to put up with it. Like, I always offer a shower. Yeah. I always offer shower gel, you know, wipes at the back of the toilet. Mm-hmm. Like, even if they like need to take a shit after they've showered for some reason, they can still wipe their ass. Or mouthwash for if they just got off work. Like, I don't mind seeing someone who's just gotten off work, but you can take advantage of the facilities I have.
Yeah.
And I used to be nice about it, but after a few stains on my, because I use my own white sheets.
Yeah.
To keep them clean, obviously. And yeah, I've had a few shit stains. So I just don't deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
Like if someone ass stinks, I will tell them that their ass stinks. It's like, why should we have to deal with that?
Yeah.
Like no one else would have to. If they went for an actual massage, they wouldn't deal with that.
Exactly. I'm glad you don't put up with that shit.
Yeah. And I mean, if someone does have really bad breath and they really insist on not doing anything, then they're not going to have a good time.
Yeah. Like
I'm going to say something and make it obvious that I'm not comfortable. And if you don't do something to change it, then I'm going to make myself comfortable by not being near that part that smells or whatever.
It's a good answer. Another question here. Are all of your clients males?
Yeah. I have done like duos and things. I love duos. Mm-hmm. I don't see couples. I probably would be open to a single woman, but I've never been asked by a single woman. I guess I do gay for pay. But vaginas don't really do it for me. Boobs, I love boobs. Boobs are like the greatest thing in the world. Vaginas don't do it for me, so I mean, I would do it for pay.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Another one here. How do you guarantee your safety when you're being independent?
I, back in the day, didn't, because I didn't know I could.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, like, I screened in a way, I guess, but I didn't screen to the point of, like, getting their names and their driver's license and all that.
Gotcha.
I screened back in the day by just looking at how they spoke to me and got a sense of them before being private with them.
That's a big indicator.
Yeah.
Proper grammar always wins.
Yeah, and I guess I've also charged a really high price for my massages. Like, after I realized I could, I started charging higher prices. And honestly, I think that's worked really well for deterring people who don't respect me.
Yeah, it's a good way of weeding out unsavory people.
So I've actually never really had too bad of an experience. Like, I've had a couple of, like, slightly unnerving experiences, but never, like, felt unsafe in a room with someone.
Right.
And then as I built Lexie, I started to take deposits a few years ago, and it's been great.
Good.
And I don't explicitly tell the guys that I get their name, just because I feel like they don't need to know. But with an e-transfer, you get someone's name, generally. If I don't get their name, like, for example, if they want to pay through a Visa or like a prepaid Visa or a prepaid MasterCard, which is one of the ways I offer deposits, I will then ask them for a picture of their driver's license because, and I usually do outcall for that sort of thing. So I have a spot that I can, and I have, like, an iPhone, and I have my location shared with a friend.
Oh, good. Good.
So all these things, like, I let someone know where I am, and I discreetly get their name and Google them.
As you should. You definitely should. It's your safety we're talking about here, so it's warranted. And I guess the last question here is, how much time do you have left as Lexie?
It's sort of something that I've been going back and forth with. With COVID, I'm not working right now.
Yeah.
I did work a little bit over the summer, but as cases started to rise again, I stopped working. I feel like it's irresponsible, and especially because I tour exclusively, it's just hard. I don't feel good doing it right now.
No, totally. Fair enough.
So right now I'm kind of back and forth about whether I wait COVID out and start working again in 2021. Hopefully it's over by then.
Yeah.
I'm still probably going to do a little bit of online, like pictures and videos. My fiance is on board with making content with me.
Yay.
Yeah.
Score.
I'm super excited for that, actually. So I'll be doing that for a couple of years, probably online, and then in person. Maybe I will wait out COVID and then try for another year as Lexie.
Yeah.
Or maybe I will see how long COVID takes and maybe just do a few tours around BC and Alberta as Lexie, potentially a cross-country tour. It'll just depend on COVID. If COVID hadn't have happened, I would be working till 2021.
Yeah.
But because of COVID, I'm just taking the time off, and we'll see what happens. I really hope for another year of work, just because I'm not quite ready to quit. I really do love what I do. Like, I love it so much. So I'd be pretty sad if I had to throw in the towel. Yeah. But we'll see. I'll be announcing on my socials what I'm gonna be doing when I decide.
Yes. And with that, where can we find you?
Yeah, so I have a few different socials. Pretty much, I always tell people to Google me, because I'm like one of the first people that show up on Google. So, like, my website's like one of the first links, lexiecaldera.ca. And then that links to like my Twitter and my Instagram. And I do have a Facebook as well, a work Facebook, but my work Facebook is really for like my paying. Well, not really. Like a lot of people add me, and then I try to weed through the people that don't ever give me money. Just because you can only have 3,000 friends on that one. Yeah. And I have, or 5,000 friends, and I'm so close to that limit all the time. So I try to keep my Facebook for like the people that plan on giving me at least a few dollars.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, Lexie, it was so much fun chatting with you. And honestly, I could chat for even longer, but I know.
Like, I love chatting with you too.
It's been so great. Honestly, I just want to hear more about the whole hitchhiking thing. But I was like, okay, I got to steer it back. It's just an overlay. I don't have anything.
I would definitely, if anyone wants to know more about the industry, they can absolutely reach out and ask me any questions they may have, as long as they're not like super weird.
Yeah. But it was...
Or creepy,
yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for taking the time every morning. I mean, it's rainy here in Vancouver, but it's... it was so much fun chatting with you and getting to know you and just getting your expertise on the erotic massage part of the industry. And I learned so much today. I'm sure all the listeners also learned a lot as well. So Lexie, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
And everyone, it's new episodes every single Sunday wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to like, rate, share, and subscribe. Write me a nice little pretty review and maybe a 5-star rating on Apple. And it's Straight by Sia on Instagram, as well as my personal, which is Sia Steph. And I will catch you in for another episode next Sunday. Thanks. Bye. You're listening to Strip by Sia, hosted, produced, and edited by Steph Sia. Artwork by Maria Bellandarama. Music by Ted D. And photography by Ian Dabern.